Welcome to the REI Foundation Podcast, where we cover all the steps and strategies to make your real estate dreams a reality. Now your hosts, Jason and Peely.
Hi, everybody, and welcome again to the REI Foundation Podcast with Jason and Peely. Today, we have the amazing Julita Moss joining us. Welcome.
Hello. And it is Julita, but you know.
Oh, I always say it wrong, Julita.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm so bad.
It's the Mexican version of Julita. Julita is spelled the same way, so no big deal. Anyway, I say your name wrong, so we're even.
We both have interesting names.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Well, I'm going to steer us back on track here. So, welcome to the show. Thank you so much. Why don't you give us a little background on yourself and how you got started in real estate?
Okay. Well, started in 2005 full-time. I was in corporate America 14 years. Company was bought out. And then at that time, I was given a great opportunity to do what I loved to do. I had rental properties when I was working in the corporate environment and decided that that's the route that I wanted to go and explore. And, you know, I started small and actually just kind of took it one step at a time, very slowly, and just started kind of growing my portfolio year after year. So 2004, bought a house. 2005, bought 2 houses. 2006, bought 7 houses. So as the time progressed, I just started to build the portfolio and did a little bit of flipping during that time. Did not do any wholesales until the last 2 years. But my main goal was owning property and owning single-family residence at the time. So here we are.
There's a lot of great stuff there. So one of the first things I'd ask is you have a corporate job and you decide to buy rental properties. What was the urge that gets you into there?
Well, I mean, I came from a family that owned properties, some real estate, you know, in my family. So that was kind of in my blood. And having a full-time career job made it easy to go to the banks, to get a loan. And it was just something I loved. My husband and I at the time loved to work on the houses. So, you know, at 20 years old, 21 years old, you know, we decided that that's what we wanted to do, was to buy houses. And, you know, first we were fixing them up and selling them, and then eventually just decided to keep the ones that we fixed up. And, you know, it started kind of as weekend projects and after work, and it soon became a little bit more difficult because we then started a family and had 3 kids and 2 full-time jobs and traveling, and it was really tough, very tough.
Let's talk a little bit more about that, the mindset of starting your family, and you're already progressing in this business that can definitely eat up your time. So how did you balance the two, family and business?
Well, for me personally, family always came first. And that was something from our, you know, in our life that we determined, is that our kids were always to be put first before any jobs, any careers. But at the same time, you know, we had goals, we had dreams, we wanted a good future for our kids, we wanted good retirements. And so we really just started with a plan. I mean, honestly, at 20 years old, 22 years old, we had goals and we had things, you know, we wanted to accomplish. And at that time, you know, when we started with our kids, we didn't do a great job of yearly looking at things, but on a global, bigger pictures, we knew where we wanted to be. You know, we knew that we wanted to own rental properties. We knew that we wanted our kids to go to Catholic school. So we knew we had to make a certain amount. So you know, there were just things that were really important to us as a family. And, you know, everybody's situation is different. Everybody's goals are different. Their income needs are different. And that was probably the hardest thing, you know, for us, was to not judge and not, you know, look at somebody else and say, what do they have and what don't I have? It was more about what was important to us and how do we accomplish those things.
Nice.
So after 14 years with a company, how did you just make the jump after that company, just not go back into the corporate world and go out there and just take the risk? And it seemed you're set up, so you've been doing these, so it wasn't a brand new venture, but just that you talked a bit about having certain levels. Your kids going to Catholic school and other points, but now you're going into this world where there's no guaranteed income, there's no weekly paycheck. That's a struggle for a lot of people. What told you it was the right time to make that move?
I mean, I was fortunate enough that the company that I was with, I did get a severance. So that kind of gave me a good cushion to take that risk. But probably more importantly, it was just the desire. It was the desire that I did not want to go back into a corporate job. I worked 40-hour week job, plus having 3 kids, rental properties. I mean, there was a lot of things going on in my life that I determined that that's just not what I want. I didn't want that life anymore. And I'm not real good at the politics, and I didn't want to go back to another corporate environment. So I just made it up in my mind that it wasn't going to be a matter of, how successful I was going to be. It was just a matter of when and how. And I'm very fortunate that I have a great support system. My family's very close to me. So, if I had to have a Saturday showing or I had to do things, I had help. Like everybody says, it takes a village to raise your kids. And we all know that. And I definitely had that support, from my husband at the time. And you just take it in strides, and you just, my theory was always do something, even if it's wrong. If you just sit around and wait and go to classes and listen to podcasts but do nothing, then you're never going to get anywhere. So, I mean, there's a lot of things looking back, how many mistakes that I made, how many things that I would have done differently now. But if I wouldn't have done them, I wouldn't have been able to grow, and I wouldn't have been able to learn, and I wouldn't be able to now own 20 properties over 20 years. So
that's amazing. Let's delve a little bit more into that. I mean, you have an incredible mindset. And I know at some point you became a single mother as well. Mm-hmm. So how do you, for anybody out there that is like thinking about all the excuses of why not, how did you get over that why not? How did you have the faith in yourself to take that jump and stay the course?
I guess, again, back to the passion. I never felt like it was work. It was really more about just, I enjoy it. I still enjoy it, parts of it. There's still, it's a job. I mean, it's not a get rich overnight scheme. It's not easy. People can sit around and say, oh, it's great, whatever. But there's days that you want to give up, and there's days that you want to just throw in the towel. And believe me, there were many days that I would reach out to a friend or reach out to my mom or reach out to somebody and say, I think I just need to go back to corporate America. And, it was a steady job. It was a steady income. I got a paycheck every 2 weeks. I had insurance. But when the time passed and the little ugliness would pass, then I would refocus again and, stay energized. And that's the other thing that I can, say about staying focused is sometimes you have to just break away from it, take a vacation, go to the park, get away from your desk. A lot of us work at home, and that was a hard transition for me when I left corporate America, that I'd been working in a company for 14 years, going to work at 7:00 every week and every day, coming home at 5:00. Making dinner, doing baths, all that. And then to wake up and say, nobody's telling me what to do. Nobody's giving me a budget to work with. Nobody's giving me any KPIs that I have to meet. I had to figure all of it out by myself. And being in groups like we're in, 7-figure flipping, 6-figure flipping, I did that as well when I first started. I did a group in Atlanta for a year and a half, very similar to ours. It was a a little bit different from the standpoint of it was a much bigger group. But I did personal coaching. I did every 8 weeks, I drove to Atlanta and went and got trained. So, it's really about making the commitment to your education. My mentor at the time, who now is my acquisitions person, the very,
Awesome.
yeah, talk about full circle. Yeah. He told me when I was leaving Brown and Williamson, the one thing he said to me is, well, as we were leaving lunch, I was like, well, what advice would you give me? And he said, the best advice I can give you is invest in your education. And he said, you don't know how many people I go to lunch with, people that say they want to get in the business and whatever, and they never do any of that. They talk about it, but they don't really do anything about it. And that's really, what kept me on track is growing and learning and trying. When I first started going to those classes and they started talking subject twos and lease with options, I had no clue. I mean, it was like a foreign language, and to understand but to keep hearing it and to hear it and then to come back and do it, it was like an opening, your ear, that they say about you only hear it when you're ready to hear it, or you only see it when you're ready to see it. I mean, I've been doing this now for 20 plus years, and we go to the classes and I hear something that I've known for 10 years, but because I hadn't experienced it or I hadn't lived through it, then all of a sudden when I have, then it's like, oh, that's what it means, or that's how it relates to me. So, that whole thing about the education is just really, really important.
Wow, that's so amazing. I mean, that was actually my next question. I was going to ask you, how did you learn? How did you find the mentors? But you hit it right on the nail. Education is so key. I mean, in anything you do in life, but especially in real estate investing, without the education, you're kind of a sitting duck. You can't get anywhere, right?
Right. Yeah. And so many people seem to, every time I go to a conference, it's almost like they think that, it's like you learn. And I think sometimes they think, are you not getting it? Because you keep going. But it's one of those things that just evolve. I mean, just like technology changes, medicine changes, everything. Real estate has changed dramatically in the 20 years that I've been doing it. From the technology, it's still the same game. It's still buy low and sell high. I mean, it's no different. It's just a matter of how we're doing it and the competition that we have, the shows that are on TV, and the education that the sellers now have. I mean, it's just a different arena. Getting loans. 2005, I mean, anybody could get a loan. 2004, 2005, 2006. And then we all know what happened in 2007 and 2008. And our whole world changed, my world included. And, at that time, all I could do was just hunker down and just survive. It was really a mode of survival. I did not miss a payment. I never was late on a payment, but it was hard. Those years were definitely difficult. And, but it's made me learn also not to over leverage and not to overextend my credit and not to do the things that I've seen other people do. And so all good lessons. And as we, continue to go forward, and as you all know now, I'm including my children, my kids into this business. And it's like,
so how's that going?
It's going very well, actually. Evan finishes, my oldest finishes in December, and he's coming on full time. So it's scary in the sense of, I've supported him for 23 years, but now the thought is always that when they graduate college, they'll be on their own. Well, now, he's coming along with me, but he's been doing dispositions for the last 6 months. And, learning, as you all know, he's coming to a lot of the conferences and getting on the calls and really going to jump into there full time. And then Adam, the middle one, same thing. And then Jacob, he's a freshman in college. So, we'll just move them right along. And if they want to do real estate, which they seem to all want to, that's great. I always tell them, though, do what you love, because I don't know if you all have seen that thing on Facebook about, you have this amount of time, when you're going to school, and then you have this amount of time when you retire, and this amount of time is for all these years you have to work. You better love what you do, because that's a big old chunk of time. You gotta fill your days, and you gotta fill your life with things that make you happy. And again, it's not every day. I'm not ecstatic every single day, and there's the hard days, but for the most part, it gives me the freedom. Because that was the other thing. When my kids were in grade school, I wanted the opportunity to be that parent that could go on field trips. I wanted that be that parent that when they got home from school, that I was there with their homework, and I wanted to be that supportive. And now, again, now that they're older, now I can focus more on my business and growing the business. And during those years, it was a matter of just growing my portfolio slowly and consistently, and not spending unresponsibly, because I'm a conservative person by nature.
Mm-hmm.
But the planning part is critical, as far as when you have a plan, it's easy to stick to your plan if you look at it each day, or every week or every month, to kind of know where you're going. It's like a roadmap.
Well, let's talk about your business. What is the current focus of your business, day in and day out?
Right now, it's in the last year, it's been mainly on the wholesaling side. Again, I have 20 properties in my rental portfolio. Last year, I did 5 flips and about 3 wholesale deals. This year, it's like only 3 flips and about 13 wholesale deals. So it really, this past year has all been, and since I joined the group, it's all really been about my systems. So it's been setting up the Facebook pages, setting up the website, setting up the CRM system. I mean, I really felt like this last 8 or 9 months that my buying capacity has been lower, because my attention has been on building the systems and building the structure, and not going out on the appointments. And I did hire a bookkeeper, so that helped tremendously. I hired the acquisitions person, as I mentioned, that, he's my mentor. But it's been very slow. It's not been, I don't have the growth. I'm not here yet.
It's coming.
It's definitely coming. And the foundation, that's my whole thing is, yes. I'm trying to set the foundation, because I know it will. I'm living proof that it does work, that if you stick to it and you don't give up, and that's hard to do. And I've been guilty of stopping my marketing, and then all of a sudden my calls stop. And I did that because, I was doing a lot of things by myself. I was a one-man show for 18, 20 years. And now I've realized that I definitely have to, I need help to be able to grow the business.
Nice. And talking about the help that going off with the help she's talking about is Justin Williams and House Flipping HQ. His coaching programs are House Flipping Formula, 6-figure flipping, 7-figure flipping, and now 8-figure flipping. And both Julita and I and Jason are part of the 7-figure flipping community, and it has skyrocketed our businesses. And we're in the same boat where we are focused on creating sound foundations for our business, because without the foundation, you really don't have anything. You need to have that foundation. You need the systems in place to really, really take your business where you want it to go.
It also allows you to break through the ceiling, because you see other people doing things at just catastrophic levels that you're not associated with within your day in and day out. And when you see so many other people accomplishing so many different amazing things, it makes it so much easier for you to reach that level. So you can take that next step very easily. And now 10 steps farther past that, you're not even close to the guys that are way down the track. And you're saying, okay, well, that's attainable. Yes. So now how do we get to those steps?
That's exactly right.
That's amazing.
But still, take a look at your growth. You have those 20 homes in your portfolio. Last year, you did 3 wholesales and 7 flips. Was that what you said?
5 and 3.
5 and 3.
Yeah.
And this year you did 3 flips and 13. So you're still doing more deals this year than you did last year. So kudos to you. Congratulations. It's huge.
Thanks.
And the year's not over yet.
No, it is not. And again, it's about consistency. I mean, I've learned, if nothing else that I've learned is trying to stay consistent. And it doesn't mean that, you don't change your marketing channel or you don't adjust it. A perfect example is my bandit signs. My bandit signs have worked so well through the year, and I got busy. My assistant didn't order them. We just kind of missed it. And so here we were with no signs. And now I look at my numbers and I can see we didn't put any signs up because there's no calls coming in on bandit signs. There's no, so it definitely just goes to prove it's hard. It's hard to set aside that money though, because we've talked about this in our group, to set aside the money for the Facebook or set aside the money for the direct mail. It's very difficult, especially if you're working with a set budget and that is all that you have to work with. And none of us have unlimited budgets, so you have to make those hard choices about what's working. And I'm getting better at this. One of the things that I haven't been really good at in the past is doing my KPIs and seeing what's working and what's not working. And I'm realizing, that is key. I mean, because how can I tell soon to be Evan what new marketing channels or what is working and not working if I don't know? So, really digging into that this last month, I really have dug into my, what I'm finding out is some of our leads that are coming in, we're not doing a very good job. The ones that are for that week, we're doing great. We do great follow-up. Russ does great. He's a great communicator and he follows up with them well. But when they get down and they start kind of dropping and we haven't heard from them for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, they have the tendency to just kind of fall off the face of the earth. And that's money we spent. So I'm really making an effort to, my new thing is no lead left behind. So it's like, we are going to work that lead until we bug the crap out of them or they've sold the house or whatever. So
until you can't work it anymore.
So we can't work it anymore. And also one of the other big, huge things that I'm focusing on this until the end of the year that we've been working on the last couple of months, is the niche list, because I really want to be a little bit more ninja. I mean, after our last meeting, that was kind of a takeaway for me is that, and when I look at my numbers, when I see the deals that I've done the best on are the ones that not everybody's going after. And so, the driving for the dollars and the probates and the code violations and things that take a little bit more effort than just going to buying a list. My equity list does not pull real well. Maybe it's my market or maybe it's because I haven't done it long enough just yet. But the ones that we do the best on have a tendency to be our niche. And the Les pendants, even though those all come with their own problems in itself, we just, I just try to make sure that Russ understands when he goes to a lead, this came in through a Les pendants. So know the situation. So he's aware that they're behind, and whether they want to talk about it or not, that's how I know that they're behind, because we know that we got them from that list. So really just being a little bit more,
like you said, ninja.
Yeah. Taking the information of what we have and making sure that we're all aware of it and using it to the best of our knowledge and using it for the follow-up and using it in our systems and our CRM and setting up automated processes to them.
Nice.
What's something in your business right now that you are really focusing on? So you talked right now about being nicheless, but what's something that's been a struggle for you currently in your business that you're working with your team to improve on?
Probably the biggest one has been the follow-up, just making sure that, because when when Russ, the acquisitions person, gets overloaded, obviously what happens is those other leads just kind of get pushed to the wayside, and that follow-up doesn't get, we're not using that to the best of our ability. So setting up systems for that. So doing a lot of the automated, the voice blast, the emails and the text messages that are going out of the investor fees. That's probably been the biggest. And then also, which now I'm there, but it took me a couple months to get there, is to automate the direct mail. So because in the past it was one of those that we would do the list, and then every week it would be like, okay, well, who goes where, and how many are we going to send out and all that. And so now we went with a company that literally, this is the schedule. So for 12 weeks, they know every week how many go out and who goes out. And we're building off of that. So we started out with 1,500. And then what we've done is added little small buckets. And whether that's when the 4-week time comes around for the niche list after 4 weeks, then they're going to get a postcard. So now they get dumped into there. So that 1,500 now is up to 2,500. And we'll just kind of keep building that to try to stay in that 2,500 a week. So really more so of just taking away the thinking and taking away the doing and making it more automated. So now it's just, they have everything on file. We don't even do anything. Now, when that 12-week time comes up, we will provide them with a new list, and there'll be some things that we have to do there, but not every single week. Because what was happening is, they had to have the files on Thursday. On Wednesday, we were scrambling around, trying to get them a list. Sometimes we would, sometimes we wouldn't. And so, yeah,
it sounds like it's much better this way. Automate everything. Systems, aren't they crazy?
Yes, it is. I don't know why it's taken me so long.
Well, I was just going to say, in the 20 plus years that you've been doing this, you must have some awesome stories. Can you tell us of one great story, either a win or a lesson learned that you could share with our community?
Yeah, probably the biggest, I don't want to say it's one win. One of the best approaches for me is creative financing. I love creative financing. So that's always my big plug to people, is just because it doesn't fit in this little box of the person wanting to sell, don't close your mind to the fact that there's lots of different ways to approach it. If they're set on a certain price, give them that price if they will do owner financing at 3% or 4% interest or something. It has to be a win-win. I get that. But if there's a good house or a good apartment or good something, think about the long term, not just the short-term gain. But if that house appreciates for 6% for the next 10 years, and I can get this guy to get it paid for in 5 or 7 or 8 or whatever, don't leave those, especially for, some people don't like the more educated sellers. I personally do, because they understand. They understand the tax implications. They understand that if they have a capital gain, they're going to pay this huge tax on, so you don't have to educate them. Some you do. When some people inherit these, $150,000 house, do they understand they're going to be hit with a big tax burden? If you can educate them, I've probably gotten more deals from telling and explaining people to them, let's do an installment plan. Let's do something where I pay you payments. I just did one in the fall, last fall, with a gentleman that, he was stuck on a price. He was not going to move off the price. No investor would give him the price. I gave him the price, but he didn't get it till I sold the house. So, I didn't have to go get financing. I didn't have to pay any, no payments to him. So it worked out in the end. He was happy, I was happy, and it was all good. So I always just say, if it doesn't fit in one box, see if it'll fit in another box, or, see if it'll, because if you don't ask, you're never going to know. Many times people don't even know to even throw that out there. So if you don't tell them, and if you don't educate them on what you can do, and I'm fortunate now that I have a good referral, so whenever I do that, I always put on, so when I make an offer to somebody, I'm usually making them 3 offers. One offer is going to be an equity offer where I'm giving them very
Can
little.
we run through a basic scenario just so there's some context?
Yeah,
It just
sure.
could be anything. $100,000 house, 3 different scenarios.
$1,000 house. Offer one's going to be $5,000 at closing, no payments, and $95,000 when I sell the house. Second scenario is going to be $10,000 at closing, but the sales price will be $90,000. So in other words, because what I do is I go through the scenario with them as far as what their equity is. So like if they're sitting there and I say, well, if you have to get a real estate agent, you've got to do these repairs. At the end of the day, what you really have in equity is $100,000. You think it's $150,000, but you've got all these expenses. You got $30,000 of repairs, et cetera. So we're down to $100,000. Okay. So $100,000 is my starting point. So offer A, as I mentioned, $5,000 and then $95,000. Offer 2 is $10,000, and now I'm lowering his equity. So lowering the equity to be $90,000. So $10,000 at closing, $80,000 whenever I sell the house. And then automatically offer 3 is a cash offer of $60,000. And then I say to them, obviously, because every person has a different scenario.
Yep.
Some people need that cash and they're going to say, I don't care how much you're willing to offer me in equity 6 months from now. I need the money right now. Versus somebody else who has a job, has income, but they want the most out of their parents' house or their brother's house. So they can sit and wait for their equity. So you're giving them a different scenario and you're giving them things to think about. And then always the last one is I'll give them the $100,000 and this is usually if I've already kind of talked about the seller financing a little bit and I understand and I know that they're not in a desperate situation. If I know that, then I'm automatically going for the seller financing. So that could be long term. That could be like, for an example, I just did a duplex and the guy did not necessarily need the money right away. He wanted what he wanted and I gave it to him and we set up a structure that was good for him and it works for me. So, it's just really every scenario and every house has a different story. And there's nothing that's like I can just hand to my son and say, this is what it's going to be for this house because every single one of them is different. So, again, just giving that seller options and listening to their needs. What is their need? Their need is that they, where that $5,000-$10,000 comes into play. A lot of times they'll say, well, I need $10,000 because I got a kid that's going to college and whatever. So they're willing to take a little bit more cash and less equity, but they don't need it all right away. And again, I educate them about, do you understand that if you get this $100,000, have you talked to your accountant? Have you talked to your attorney? Do you understand the tax implications of what this is going to mean for you? And that goes, sometimes they do. Sometimes they do understand because they have talked to them. Sometimes they don't even think about that at all. That hasn't been on their radar. They've never dealt with having to sell homes and they live in a home, but now they've inherited this problem or this asset that they didn't even know how to deal with. So,
wow.
Thank you.
Everybody out there that's listening, rewind that. I do this a lot, but you do need to rewind that about, let's say about 3-5 minutes and re-listen to everything. She just explained to you how to do seller financing. Listen to that at least 10 times and then go do it.
No, it's great. I mean, did you think about it that you get these textbook scenarios, 70% of ARV minus repairs, and there's your offer, and that sounds wonderful, but you have to understand that it's about helping sellers and finding their situation and what's the situation that's going to work for them that can ultimately work for you too. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks. I appreciate that. No, it's
thank you for that value add. That was awesome.
So where does your business go in 5 years? Where's your direction?
Well, I'm hoping to be sitting on a beach, drinking drinks and just collecting checks. No, I mean, Evan, honestly, I just hit 50 this year. So my goal was, at 50 to have a retirement plan of 10 to 15 houses paid for. I'm not quite there. I do have some, because when I left the corporate job, I mean, I had a 401k and I had all that. And when you leave a corporate job, you don't have that cushion anymore. So you have to, and so my house is, to me, when I left in 2004, the houses were my retirement. And, I've done things like, setting up the self-directed IRAs. And so I did a lot of that up front to take care of myself going forward. And so, 5 years, I'm hoping that they are growing this business to where they want it to be. And I will be there supporting them and helping them and probably, maybe doing some other things. I don't know yet.
That's perfect.
Real estate will always be in my blood and always be, I always tell people I'll never retire, because I don't really feel like, for the most part, I don't ever feel like it's work. I probably will get out of the property management piece of it for sure. That definitely will not be in my life in the next 5 years. But in some in some way, something will be there. So
it's great. It's great. And now, if you have a new investor who is possibly looking to get started, what would be something, an actual step you would tell them right now to do?
Oh gosh, network in the RIA groups, or the, whatever their groups are there. Latch on to somebody that is doing the business, make a friend, go to lunch, take them to lunch. Especially if you're working a full-time job, raising a family. I mean, maybe it's not something you can do right away, but you can certainly learn a little bit at a time, and you can make a connection with somebody that's doing the business. I mean, we all love to teach. We all love to have somebody, latch onto you. And that's the great thing about this business is there's so much out there that there's no competition, really. I mean, we all end up sometimes at the same houses, but at the end of the day, there's enough to go around for everybody. Yeah. So don't be scared to, reach out to an investor or reach out to an agent, depending on what they wanted to do. But networking is something that I didn't get to do a lot of when I was younger, because I was a single parent. I was, doing the soccer and football and baseball every night. And that's something that I don't want to say that I'm not paying for now, but I don't have a lot of those relationships with agents or other investors that some of my counterparts do, because I didn't have that. So now that's what I'm doing. So, reaching out and doing other things. And I was always, in my head was just, when I had time to work on the business, I had to work on the business and not network. But, when I had a job, I mean, I certainly went to lunch, so I just call and see if I could go to lunch with somebody or
never eat alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And, and the whole thing, education, that's my other big plug, is do the podcast, read. I mean, my kids, it's amazing. Honestly, they're 23, 21 and 19, and they are listening to more podcasts than I listen to. My son last night for his birthday, he ordered the Zig Ziglar books. That's what he wanted for his birthday.
Wow.
Great.
21 years old,
That's amazing.
Yeah, my youngest, my 19-year-old is he's one of my private lenders. He had $1,000, and he wanted to, back in the summer, he said, because he would hear me talking, and so he negotiated 12% on his $1,000. Yeah,
good for him.
Yeah,
that's huge. I'm sure he knows what that 12% is going to get him in the future.
Yes,
to the penny.
Yeah, because and that's part of the whole education as well, is just to make sure that. And he, I've sat down with him and made him understand, showed him how that $1,000 today, what is that going to be when you're my age, when you're 50? Because, I was fortunate enough to have that from my parents, that helped me see what compounding interest really can do and how powerful that is.
That's great.
And the younger you start, the better off you are.
Love it.
Our oldest is 3. I'm going to start teaching him that tomorrow.
Yeah. Never too soon. Yeah.
That's right.
Always wanted to always talk to my kids. And at one point I tried it and it became more of a nightmare than anything is our LG or our electric bills here. When they were little, they would leave on every light, every TV, every fan. So I told them that I was going to do this, that they would get an allowance, but they had to pay the LG&E bill, and anything that was left, they would get to keep. Well, that, lasted for about a month because it was just too hard for both of us, but it made them at least think about it. And it made them realize, hey, this does cost money to have the TV running when I'm not here or whatever. And, little things like that you really don't think affect them really does stick with them. And as they get older and I'm seeing that they really did listen occasionally, that's the best part of this for me in working with my kids is knowing that I'm really giving them more than just a business. I'm giving them a value and a way of life and, how to be happy and be not just about money, but about freedom and about doing the things you want to do. And,
Well, we're sort of going on that road right now. What is your big why?
Oh my gosh. My kids, obviously, my family. I also have two brothers and parents that are very active in my life. And those are my whys. I mean, we do family vacations and we go to the lake on the weekends. And, that's the reason that I do it. I want to, I was fortunate enough to have those experiences. My dad was very hard worker. He was in construction business, ran a very hardworking man, worked, on the backhoe, but ran a good business. My mom ran the business from home and he was out in the field. But what I learned from them also is, and what I'm seeing now is that don't do everything yourself. They had a good, successful business, but they did everything. My mom ran the business. She did the books. And my dad did all the work and managed the construction guys and whatever. And they only grew to a certain level. And again, that's all that they wanted. And, that was good. And that was they lived great lives. And they travel all the time now. They have been retired and living a very good life. And that's the whole thing is that, money doesn't buy you happiness. So you've got to figure out what that happiness is for yourself. And for me, it's being with my family. And,
nice.
Yeah.
What's some words to live by?
Oh gosh. Treat others like you want to be treated. I'm a big proponent of, treating people fair. That's why, our business is built on referrals, as you all know. And I think if you treat someone well, they're going to tell a few other people at least. And, do unto others as you want to be done to. So that's probably the best advice. And just stay grounded. Yep. Stay grounded in remembering who you are, because that's one of the things that I think early on in my life we lost that connection. Me and my husband at the time, we lost that connection because of things that we got sidetracked, careers, real estate, and we diverted from what's supposed to be the most important. So as you hug your husband there, yes, that is important.
Yes.
And those date nights and those times that, you think that, oh, you got to be with your kids, they're never going to remember that you left them one night and went out to dinner, Yep. And so don't forgo that for sure. Those are very important.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, if there's some people out there that want to find you, say hello, or maybe get on your buyers list or some others, where would be a great place for them to reach you?
Okay. It's, well, I'm going to say it first and I'm going to spell it. It's Silver Lining Properties. So it's SLPRO Properties, however you spell that. PROTIES, Louisville @gmail.com.
Perfect.
Got it.
Perfect.
slpropertieslouisville at gmail.com.
I'll make sure it's correct on our show notes.
Thank you. Yes.
Well,
Yeah. Thank you all so much. It was awesome. And I'm so happy. That's the other thing that I love when I come to these groups and come to the classes is to see young people and young, couples, especially working together, because it's not easy. It's so hard to work together and to figure out not in each other's lanes and all that kind of stuff. And I commend you guys for sticking with it and, figuring it out, but also staying focused on your relationship and your marriage and keeping the business kind of out of there as well.
thank you.
Thank you so very much for everything. Thank you. Thank you. Wow, so much value.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad. It's been fun. So I look forward to watching you all grow and doing lots of great things. And I'll definitely keep my eyes open for things for you all. So
And we'll definitely watch and see how you grow as well. Thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you.
Well, this is the REI Foundation podcast with Jason and Peely. Thank you so very much to Julita Moss. And thank you. So grateful for you and so grateful for everyone who's listening.
Oh, thanks. Thank you guys and take care.
Bye now.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning into the REI Foundation podcast. Check back next time for more awesome tips and strategies to launch your new you in real estate.